Hello, Animas High School students. This is Sarah Price, and today I'm going to do a screencast on how to write analysis in a T paragraph. So, to start off too, I'd like to let you know that I did not create this brilliant document. That was the infamous Lori Fisher. I just want to make sure I have a version available for students who really need a video and audio version. So let's start with the purpose, right? People often struggle with figuring out how to flesh out a paragraph. While they may have a strong grasp of the topic sentence and a well-chosen piece of evidence, often the substance of the paragraph becomes thin, right where it should be getting stronger. The guidelines below could be adapted and used in any type of analytical essay. So let's review a little bit of our T paragraph structure, right? First, we always have the topic sentence, right? Topic sentence is the argument that is being made in just this paragraph. So here you should summarize the main idea of the paragraph in one sentence. This should be a smaller argument that builds towards the argument of your thesis. An example of this would be, while the public perception is that teenagers are taking risks in larger numbers, recent data shows that the numbers might be fewer than people think. Now, as a reader, I now know this is the entire goal of your paragraph, is you're going to prove to me this statement is true. So let's look at a reminder about evidence, right? Evidence is what data, research, or specific examples support the claim, which is our topic sentence, and ultimately our thesis. Here, you should paraphrase, put in your own words, or quote, right? You can quote specific data, research, or examples that support your claim. Any quotes should be set up and they should be cited in MLA in-text citations. So let's look at an example of that. Using the same topic sentence, we use the following evidence. In a report put out by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, it states, the overall prevalence of specific risk behavior among teenagers is due primarily to the behavior of multiple risk students. Among the 12% of students reporting regular tobacco use, 85% were multiple risk takers. Okay, this is a strong piece of evidence, but we need to analyze it to really understand its significance. So now that we've reviewed these, let's turn our attention to what should make up the bulk of your paragraph, the bulk, the analysis of your evidence. You're analyzing in your brains the significance of this evidence. All right, so the first way we'll look at analysis is this idea of what. What is the quote or piece of evidence saying? Here you should put the evidence into your own words and explain what it means. You may start your sentences with things such as, this statistic is showing that. When she says this, she means, in this paper he is saying that. More guiding questions that could help you. What do the particular words or phrases the author uses imply? How do they impact the meaning of this evidence? How does the historical or political context impact the meaning of this evidence? So let's look at what that looks like in the paragraph, right? We'll see so far we have our topic sentence, then our evidence. Now is our first piece of analysis. This data shows that rather than many students engaging in single examples of risky behavior, instead, the data shows that there are fewer students engaging in risky behaviors, but that many of those teenagers are engaged in multiple types of risky behavior. It is really important as the reader to have things very clearly outlined for you. The person who wrote this read the entire article and has a much stronger context of what is going on than the reader does currently, right? So outlining this for me might feel redundant for you as a writer, but it's really important for me as a reader. All right, let's look at our next example. So why, right? What is the evidence saying and why did I use this particular fact or quote? After you've explained what the evidence is saying, you need to explain why it is important. Here are some sentence starters. The data presented here shows that ... Blank's statement is one example of ... Evidence gives us insight into ... because ... So here's some more guiding questions, and this is a way that you can think about this component of your analysis. What is important about this specific piece of evidence? What larger trend is the specific quote or information an example of? So let's look at an example of that here in the paragraph. An example is the prevalence of multiple risk students gives us insight into teenage behavior by showing us that, in fact, not all teenagers are inherently drawn to taking risks in adolescence. In fact, the concern about risk-taking in adolescence may be overblown for all but a small segment of adolescents. Okay, right then we understand the why this is important. And let's go to our final understanding and importance of analysis, the connections. As some of us call it, this is where you can get intertextual and make sure that the layers of complexity in your argumentation is evident. So what does this piece of evidence connect to my, how does this piece of evidence connect to my thesis and the rest of my paper? After you've established your evidence is why it's important, it's time to explain how it supports your argument, right? I'm going to underline that real quick. It's time to explain how it supports your argument and connects to the rest of your paper. Some good sentence starters include, the data here reinforces the idea of ... by ... What Blank said contradicts previous points because what Blank says directly supports the idea that, and finally, the facts presented here complicate the picture of by blank because of blank. Here are some more guiding questions. How does this connect to the argument in the topic sentence of this paragraph? As a writing teacher and someone who is regularly grading writing, I'm constantly looking for this to be answered. How does this connect to the evidence presented in other paragraphs? Does it contradict it, build on it, reinforce it? Just state that. How does this piece of evidence support the thesis statement or answer your research question? And what does this mean for the bigger picture? What conclusions can you draw from this? So let's look at our final example and what that looks like in this paragraph. This data complicates the neurological changes. This data complicates the picture painted by Dr. Siegel in the previous paragraph. While he pointed out that the neurological changes in the adolescent brain make them inherently more likely to take risks, and that adolescents make up the largest group with the avoidable causes of death, Siegel 20, in fact, the evidence presented in the report indicate that these neurological changes have more pronounced effects in behavior of some adolescents, and that the neurological changes may not be the primary factor in risky behaviors of adolescents. It seems that instead, we must focus on the variables that separate multiple risk takers from the rest of teenagers if we want concrete interventions and policies that have the most impact in reducing risky behaviors. I just want you all to take a minute to look at this paragraph, right? To see how from topic, sentence, evidence, and analysis, we have built a very complex paragraph structure. Thank you and happy writing.